Good morning, Mashi.
Good evening, Dennis.
It is your day today. How we cooking?
I went deep. I went deep. Are you a fan? I don't know if we've dived too much in this. How big a fan of anime are you?
I feel like every time you ask me that, I always say not very big. And then I watched Yu-Gi-Oh when I was growing up, and I watched Attack on Titan when I was in my late
Ooh,
teens, and
that's
that was
great.
about it.
Okay. Well, I've been watching One Piece for probably nearly as long as you've been alive. Not watching it, reading it, because it came out when I was in high school. Can you believe that?
You probably have been reading it about as long as I've been.
97.
Yeah, pretty
Um,
close.
and I can think Oda Sensei is coming close to drawing it to a close. But there's a recent fight, more recent, where Luffy is fighting a massive villain, Kaido,
Mhm.
and he's already fought him once and nearly died. And this is kind of like Emperor in Star Wars level villain, like his conquered lands and everything. And they're gearing up for their second fight. And he says to him, "Do you really think you can beat me?" And Luffy's response is, as long as I live, there are infinite chances. And I don't know. I put that out there. I thought a lot about it. Like there are infinite chances. And the reason I think about that is there's so many things I approach in life, whether they are opportunities, whether they are seeming opportunities, or just the ebb and flow of business or your personal life. But so many times in my life, I think to myself, this is my chance. This is it. I got to do
Mhm.
it now. And you're in the process of it and you think to yourself, this, I've got to make the most of it. This is my shot. This is where I'm going for it. This is it. Very few
There will be other
times
chances. Yeah.
have, especially when you're in the moment, do I approach it and say to myself, 44, man, I got plenty of time. I got tons of
But do
chances
you
at
think
this
there's
one.
value in approaching every chance like it's your last? I don't know if that's
No,
sustainable for everything, but I
no,
think I don't know.
every chance. You said every
I
chance.
did say every.
I don't think there's value in approaching every chance like it's your last, because I think it puts undue pressure on you, and it probably puts you in a mindset where you think to yourself, I have to make this sacrifice. I have to round this
Mm,
corner because this is my chance. But taking a step back from the pool table, taking a step back from whatever you're engaged in, and saying to yourself, I've got infinite chances. As long as I'm alive, as long as I'm breathing, I can take another shot at this. Now, is that true when it's like, I want to buy this specific house or this specific thing? Maybe not.
well, you got to adjust your definition. That's all, right? You got to
Yeah.
just adjust your. Funnily enough, what this reminded me of, and I looked it up, is I'm not sure how appropriate this is. Have you ever heard of the quote that the IRA issued after the Brighton hotel bombing, where Margaret Thatcher almost died?
No.
They issued a statement. It was like Thatcher will now realize that Britain cannot occupy our country, et cetera, et cetera. But the key part is today we were unlucky. But remember, we only have to be lucky once. You have to be lucky every time. And that reminded me of that a little bit. And I was like, whoa,
Wow. A little, a little
a
bit
spicier.
different. A little bit different.
But it has that same vibe of like, One Piece is basically an IRA story, Mosh. That's all I'm trying to
Oh,
say.
okay. Thank you. Thank you.
No, but I mean, this is obviously like a much darker and much more real tone. But the idea that there will be other opportunities. I mean, another way to spin a similar thing is when God closes a door, he opens a window, right? It's very,
Sure.
it's that sort of approach. And I think I agree. I think there's value to approaching opportunities and chances with tenacity and with vigor. But like you said, the key word there is every. If you approach every chance like it's going to be your last, you're never going to be happy with what you get either, is the other side of it, right?
And you always have to ask yourself, I do, I know what you were getting at when you asked that question, obviously. And there is value in driving ourselves and leveraging ourselves with that motivation. Like, this is it. This is the opportunity. Maybe there's never going to be a better chance. Okay. But
Or this specific chance, like you said, maybe this chance will never present itself again. Sure.
right, maybe that is the last chocolate chip cookie and you want it. I get it.
But we talked
But
before about failure being a good teacher, right? And if you approach every chance like it's your last, I don't know how you ever accept failure and grow from it, right? You're like, oh, well, game over. It is what it is.
that's exactly it. And this is what opens the door to that. Understanding that you can get another shot. So even if this one doesn't work out, and I don't like approaching it like, hey, I got another shot, so who cares? I'm not advising that. I think though, and for myself, certainly for John, in the things we've been caught up with, we get so caught up with the idea that this is it. We've got to make it work here. We've got to make it work now. This is it. And there is a danger to that. In rounding corners, in making short-term sacrifices that don't need to be made, and taking that step back with that perspective and saying, I have infinite chances. And infinite's a lot, but I have more chances. I can keep taking different angles at this. Maybe this one's going to work. Maybe it's not going to work. I don't think you start it that way, but having that in your pocket is so important, because you will get drawn into it. You will get sucked into the notion that you have to make it work now. And whether it's business or your personal life or other things going on, we get so tunnel visioned, I think, as people, into our circumstance, into what we're doing when we are doing it in the moment, that it has to be this, and rarely step back and say, whoa. I got other shots at this. I can achieve ultimately what I want, whether it's, home ownership, a chocolate chip cookie, happiness, whatever it is.
It's all about having that goal be a little further away, right? And I don't mean in terms of your ability to achieve it. I mean further down the line. And that's the difference between, you mentioned home ownership, and that's a great example, because you, like you said, you might not have another chance to buy this house or this apartment, but you might have a chance to buy a different house, potentially a better house, or a house that suited you better, or that made you happy, or made you happier, I should say. And shifting that goal downwind a little bit can give you that little bit of perspective, right? We talked a lot about flexibility and when to mark the end of your story and things like that. And that's kind of what this feeds into. Like in the example you gave in One Piece, they're fighting and they're done. And as far as Luffy's concerned, they're done fighting when he wins. That's when they're done.
That's when the story arc ends, right?
Everything else is but a setback on that journey.
Or he's dead.
In which case it's irrelevant. I don't know. Yeah. that's fine.
They're definitely done then. But I think the idea, right? Because he's being challenged. Like, do you really think you can do this? Yeah, I have infinite chances at it. This is not my only shot. I can.
If not today, then tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. I can keep, and that is where that authority quote, I guess, does come into play. What it belies, though, is the sense that, as you said, where we draw the story is important. My failure today isn't the end of the game. I have other opportunities. I have other chances. Often we will see that after the fact. I will say very often it's not immediately after the fact. Time must pass and we go, you know what? I'm going to take another shot at it. I'm going to give it another try. Very, very rare in my experience that we see that we pull back all of a sudden and go, wait a second. I don't need to go all in here. I can take another bite at this apple. I don't need to break myself. I don't need to push myself. I don't need to settle. I can push past this.
I think the value there is in switching that perspective. I think if you could, and I don't know if this is necessarily possible, but if you could treat most chances like they were your last until the point of failure, and then assume you had infinite ones, I think that's the sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
If you're like, this is it, let's go. Didn't pan out. Okay, well, we'll get them next time. That's fine. Right. I think that's the ironclad mentality.
I think the way it works in reality, the best, is through some kind of partnership. So that I adopt it as like, this is it. Come hell or high water, I'm all in, blah, 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 blah. And I'm pushing. And in my mind, completely mentally, I'm focused. But I'm like partner like you, who at a certain point is a little more detached and can pull back and go, whoa. Why, Mosh? Just explain it. ELI 5. Why? Why is this the only one? Make it make sense to me, because I'm seeing other opportunities out there. That's where you get the most out of the pressure and focus and leverage of pushing yourself, with the safety valve of someone you trust saying, hey, whoa. Because, it's one of those things like, this philosophy, I have infinite chances, is not a burn your ships mentality on its face, because you think you can keep retreating. But it could also be, I have to do this out of necessity. The ships are burned, so I ain't leaving the island. So I guess I have infinite chances to make it happen.
And another way to highlight it is if you take, so if I think about a time, there was a time when I was a teenager, like when I was, I think, 13, 14, very early teens.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a party that I wanted to go to that my mom wouldn't let me go to. And there was this girl I liked that was going to be at that party. And then I didn't get to go to the party. And then the next day, I know, right?
You're going to be a pariah.
Dude, the next day I found out she kissed another dude at the party. And I was like, that could have been me. I was ruined. I was like, this is my only shot. That was my only shot. And I missed it. It's blown. It's so, I mean, obviously everybody feels like that when they're a teenager, when your scope is super narrow, but that's so unimportant to me now by like orders of magnitude you would not believe. But at the time I was like, that was my only shot and it's gone and my life's ruined. I have to be in this school for another 5 years and then I'm probably just going to die alone. That's probably the way it's going to go because that was a shot and I missed it. And obviously that's not true. And I think in my heart of hearts back then, I would like to think I knew it wasn't true as well, but it certainly didn't feel like that. And teenage years are obviously the logical extreme of that, but it's, I think there's more of that in our day-to-day lives as adults than we like to think.
Oh my gosh, we're so self-important. The perspective we have, and to be honest with you, it's funny, the trappings of civilization, modern civilization, have encouraged this idea. We're older, we have more debt, we're spending more money, we're adults now, and so everything is so important. Did you get that report in on time? I think we're doing 12-point font double spaced. You sure you got that right? Who cares? I know there are people out there very pedantic and live in worlds where they have bosses and managers who care about that thing. I hope you can find a better position. That's the kind of thing. I mean, I've had coworkers get yelled at about things not being double spaced or the wrong font, and it's just like, really? I mean,
this is the hill to die on. Yeah,
this is it. This is it. What happened with the girl?
Oh, and never, dated her, never hooked up, no nothing. And that was it. And in that case, I actually did miss my shot. But let me tell you, and we can wrap up on this note. It worked out pretty okay.
It worked out pretty okay. Wow, what a ringing endorsement! What a ringing! Well, hold back the enthusiasm there, Dennis.
What a ringing endorsement of the wonderful life I built with my beautiful wife. Yes, it worked out pretty okay.
Yes, but we will always remember here on Good Morning, Good Evening, the one that got away.
The one that got away. All right.
Infinite chances couldn't help Dennis there.
You know what? I did only have one chance. Dennis. Brutal. All right. Have a good day, Mashi.
Have a great evening, Dennis, to the one that got away.